Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the first day of the Circular Fashion Festival. We're super excited to have you here for our live streaming series, Fashion and the Circular Economy. We have 5 great speakers coming up today, every hour on the half hour. So at 10:30, we're being joined by Tawny from the Salvation Army Thrift Store. So we'll welcome her in just a few minutes. And then after that, we'll have Emily from Maximalist Co., Brooke from Secondhand Sustainability, Rachel from the Fashion History Museum, and Ellie from Double Dipped Clothing. And we're running these until 2:30 p.m. today. So thank you to everybody who's able to join us today. If you're not able to watch these streams live, we are saving the videos. So you'll be able to watch them on our Instagram page after. But thank you to those who have joined so far. I'm just waiting for Tawny to join, and then I'll be able to let her into the live stream. Here we go. So just sent the request to the Salvation Army Thrift Store.
No, it's okay.
There we go. All right.
Just
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Excellent. So I'd like to give you a minute to introduce yourself and let us know what your position is with the Salvation Army Thrift Store, and how that's part of the sustainable fashion community.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, and really appreciate having the invitation to be able to join with you here today. So my name is Tawny Collin, and I am the Director of Business Development and Sustainability for the Salvation Army Thrift Store National Recycling Operations. It's a big title. And the work that we do is really fascinating, that not everyone's always thought of sustainability and thrift, but it's a huge part, the two that really work together. I've always loved thrift personally, and I've been a strong consumer my whole life. And in my role working here, I've had the opportunity to network with all sides of the fashion industry, from brands and retailers who are great donor partners of ours, to recyclers, and also into those end-of-life conversations for those things that we can't use. So the whole gamut of sustainability in fashion.
Amazing. How did you get started in this industry?
Yeah, so I've been working for Salvation Army for almost 9 years, but previous to that, I worked for Habitat for Humanity for about 5 years. So again, always very interested in thrift and what's involved with that. And our position has really morphed as it's become more aware in the public about the work that we're doing, that it's about life extension, and that's a big part about sustainability. And it's really interesting that clothing and all these retail items were originally meant to be purchased once and tossed in the trash by retailers so you would purchase again. So, now we're realizing that when you donate to thrift, it's diversion from landfill, and it's actually a form of circularity and sustainability. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah, and a lot of those things end up to live a third and fourth and fifth life as different things or in different homes. So I think that's kind of a unique thing about the thrift industry, is that it's not even just like one person buying it, donating it to a thrift store, and another person buying it. I've had so many things that I've thrifted and then redonated when they've no longer suited me, but they're still perfectly usable items. So that cycle has the potential to keep going, which is really interesting.
So true. We love hearing those stories, and it's about life extension, so we can cut down on resources and having to develop and create new products. And just to give you an idea of our environmental impact, when we talk about that, last year we diverted over 79.8 million pounds of clothing and household items across Canada from landfills. And this actually displaced 800,000 pounds of carbon emissions, or some tons of carbon emissions. And that's the equivalent of moving, I've got a note here, of 37 million trees, or removing 175,000 cars. We are so excited to be able to share our story within the Salvation Army, that this is the work that we've been doing. We've been doing this for over 100 years, and now we're able to quantify it and really share what that impact is, not only for the environment, but all of the funds that are generated for that are going back into our local communities. And that, of course, is helping people with disaster relief. We've got shelters and food banks and all kinds of programs. So it's a really amazing combination. If you can think that our primary goal is to help those in need, and our secondary goal, I wouldn't say secondary, another primary goal is in helping in the environment, and we're doing that in such a vast way.
Absolutely. Those are some amazing stats. I was having a look at just your annual reporting, and the work is really fantastic in terms of waste diversion and also being a source for poverty reduction.
For sure.
What are some of the challenges that your organization has faced? And I mean, we've all faced a number of challenges in the last 3 years, but over time, as the landscape has changed.
It's interesting that one of our main challenges is to not only educate consumers that thrift is for everyone, but also an accessible way to participate in sustainable fashion. So I had somebody ask me at a conference last week about this, and they leaned into me and they said, my 19-year-old son is going to the thrift store, and my wife says, you shouldn't be going to Salvation Army. It's for people in need. And I turned to him and I said, well, it is absolutely for people in need. To a certain extent, because we do provide vouchers to those in need so they can get items for free and have a good and dignified shopping experience. But that's a small amount of what we're doing. The majority, we're trying to raise funds. We want everybody to come and shop from all walks of life. If you come in, you're shopping with us, you're spending money, that money goes back into our social services and our machine can continue to roll. We have so many great quality donations that are coming in. We really would love everyone to come in and purchase those to help support our services. So I think that's a big misnomer, that people don't understand that. And I think that's pretty true for all thrift, because I work with a number of other thrift charities and they're saying the same thing. We're not just here to help those in need or people with lower incomes. We're here to generate funds, and that's a big part of what we do. So making that choice, together we're working towards making secondhand a first choice in our communities and really encouraging people to donate and shop.
I love that phrase, make secondhand your first choice. And I think some of those misconceptions stem from like a scarcity mindset of there's only so many of these materials to be recirculated. But we're learning how abundant the secondhand industry is, especially with the speed of the fast fashion cycle and like the fast furniture cycle. So there's so much turnover that there's not really a shortage of items.
It's true. It's very true. And I feel that the more people understand that they can get their fix of shopping, doing it through thrift in a more sustainable way, we can extend those items, right? And it's just a great way for, I guess I don't want to say a guilt-free way, but a better way of being more sustainable. And of course, the savings are incredible because the quality that we get in our thrift stores is so good. We're just so blessed by so many wonderful donors, and the items that we can put on our racks are all excellent condition. And the retail pricing, we're probably 15% of that. So you have a huge savings, and there's no tax if you shop Salvation Army, because we are a non-for-profit organization as well.
I've picked up many, many items in my costuming for community theater days when I'm on a very tight budget. And then often those items just get redonated at the end of the run after we've cleaned them.
Well, we thank you for that. And just so others know as well, whenever you donate items to our thrift stores, we'd love to give you a coupon so that you can go back in the store and shop, and as our appreciation to you.
Love it. On that note, how can we make circular fashion more accessible and try to remove some of those barriers to thinking about it being only for one type of person, or that it might be something that's more expensive or less expensive? What could we do to sort of make people get on board with the world of circular fashion?
Yeah, I think educating consumers, I talked about that already, really to understand the circular mindset and the habits like reusing and repurposing existing garments and buying secondhand. That's something that, wonderful example is the Guelph Tool Library and this circular fashion festival promoting this sort of discussion and the importance of this in circular fashion. Like clothing swaps, clothing repair and upcycling workshops. There's so many things that are happening, and we love seeing this through Waste Reduction Week. It's a challenge for charities sometimes to get on board and to spread this message as we're head down in our work and trying to, help our communities. So when we can get that engagement from municipalities and from other organizations, it really makes a big difference.
Amazing. So you already said make secondhand your first choice, but what does a circular fashion economy look like to you?
Yeah, it's become such a buzzword, right, really, and we've been talking so much about it. Circular economy is a new way to look forward from the current linear economy towards an endless circle of sustainable and responsible reuse of products. And, for us, we are in the middle of that cog of circularity. Like, we're not necessarily involved with the design and manufacturing, but certainly in that life extension and the reuse to get the most use out of those products. And then we are somewhat involved in the end of life, but really we are needing a lot more innovation and a lot more understanding of what's happening to those textiles so that we can reuse that stuff here inside of Canada. And upcycling is a great way to do that. The circular economy is about doing business differently. And I'm excited that it's starting to become so much more mainstream and people are understanding that. We're proud to be a major player in the reuse and recycling aspect of the circular economy as a multifaceted nonprofit organization. And as you mentioned, you may have seen our report, our recent impact report. It's available at thriftstore.ca on our website, which talks a lot more in detail and also gives some education about what that means in our industry. And through all our channels, we're working to make secondhand, like I said, the first choice, and in our communities, encouraging them to donate and shop thrift. And, the big thing is don't throw it in the trash. That's a really, a horrible thing that we see happen. We know that 85% of textiles, they say, are going to landfill, and it's a matter of convenience. It's more convenient to do that than to drive down to your local thrift store or to find a donation bin. But we really want to press upon people, don't throw those items out. Please donate them, no matter what the condition, because we can take them. But certainly gently used items that are clean are always accepted and very much in need in our stores.
Awesome. Just going to have a quick scroll through the chat to see if there are any questions from our attendees, and to give our audience now a chance to ask some questions if they've got any. So if you're tuned in, you can type your question down in the chat or comment. I think there might be a little bubble for asking questions. It's been a while since I've been on an Instagram Live, so I'm getting back into the swing of these. I used to do them every week during lockdown. We did a series called Make, Do, and Mend, where I just did different crafting projects at home, teaching people how to sew virtually and do some, a lot of really interesting projects.
While you're looking at just, because I have some side notes here too, some interesting.
Sure.
I think that this is really interesting. The secondhand is becoming a global phenomenon, expected to grow by 127% by 2026. By 2026, like in 3-4 years. And this was actually put out in a ThreadUp report, ThreadUp 2022 resale report. Amazing data and information in these kinds of reports. And it's just saying that it's expected to grow 8 times faster than the overall apparel market. So we're getting momentum, which is great to see, and everybody's getting involved in that.
And I see we've got a couple of questions that have popped up. Two people have asked, what does happen to donations that don't end up resold?
Yeah, great question. A lot of people ask us this question. So there's so many of these donations that are not in super condition to go into our stores to find another life, right? So stuff that's pilled or worn or torn. We take those items in Salvation Army and we bring them back to our central warehouses, and we bale them up and we move them to third party domestic graders. So these companies actually will purchase them from us. So there is value in them for Salvation Army generating funds. And they further take them apart into many different categories. So they'll take out items like cotton or like rags and use them for rags and insulation and wiping rags and that sort of thing. They'll take the clothing that is of good condition in different seasons of condition, and they'll actually offer that to other markets, which can be around the world. So that is sort of standard general practices. We don't make all of these clothes in Canada, so we don't have a huge manufacturing of all of this product to begin with. So we don't have a lot of end-of-life solutions in Canada, but we are striving to do our best to make sure that whatever can stay in the country and we can reuse here in Canada does. We're also involved in a number of projects to look at more of these other options. There's chemical recycling happening now, and um, there's manufacturing recycling where they're like taking our buttons and things like this and shredding these fibers, but we don't have great homes in Canada for what to do with these fibers to manufacture them. So those are areas of innovation that we need to work on more with many of our partners across the value supply chain.
Back in the spring, we participated in a program through Smart Wool where we collected odd socks to be basically remanufactured. And the uptake on that was so fast and so big that they had to shut the program down after just 2 months, because I think they received far over capacity, because we're all sitting on these things that we have been told, don't throw them away. But not knowing sort of where they go or what happens to them can be a big issue. And I know that that's something that a lot of municipalities are working on, is setting up textile recycling programs where things can get remanufactured and reused, resold locally to create that circular economy. So it's interesting to see where there's the movement in that.
It's very interesting. There's so many cool technologies and innovations. It's not going to be long before we're going to be able to scale those to a larger capacity, especially when there's demand for them. And so we're more of like a recovery center, I would say, that like we filter the public's waste, we take out what's really good, and we're able to put that through our thrift stores and help people with that. So it's really great that we can do that big chunk of the work. And another area that we need to see is a slowdown of production. That I think would be really important. A slowdown of first retail consumerism, right? Do we all need so much stuff? Can we look at these capsule wardrobes and all these other ways of being sustainable in our fashion? And is that something that people can adopt more? And I think that that's becoming so much more popular. We're seeing all these minimalist things on TikTok and in other places as well that are inspiring. I know I cleaned out my closet again the other day.
Yeah.
So all of this stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I think slowing down that cycle of production is sort of the key disruptor in being able to create a sustainable and circular fashion economy. So that's a good perspective to have. I do just have one question. How does pricing occur on more valuable or designer items in your stores?
Yeah, so we actually have a pricing matrix, and we evaluate this every few months, and we look at what's happening across the market and the industry as far as what that value is. And a lot of it is driven by customer demand. So depending on how quickly the stuff is moving or not moving, and we grade items to be best, better, best, and then also by brand. So there's a whole system and a process. I can't give you too much more of our insider secret about that, but that is taken into consideration. Before the pandemic, we actually had auctions in many of our stores where we put higher value items, and then the market would determine and drive up those prices. We found that a better system was to offer fab finds and a buy it now system, so people could immediately purchase those items. And with our trained staff who've been doing this for many, many years, that's how we set those price points and offer them. So often you'll see exclusive items, perhaps a Gucci bag or something that's really, a signed hockey jersey or something like that. It'll be in our featured area where people can look at that. And sometimes if they're not moving, then we might reduce those prices. But in general, we do have quite a complicated pricing matrix system, and we're well aware of what the markets are doing and trying to keep abreast of that.
Mm-hmm. I can imagine it's quite an extensive process for determining.
It really, it's, we've got really great trained staff. There are times when, we slip things through maybe a little too low or a little too high. I mean, we're human, it does happen. But by and large, we know the markets and what we're moving at. And I think people have to understand, although all of these products are donated, we have a lot of costs in our association. And just to get that item, brought in, moved in a truck or brought to the warehouse, sorted, price. This is all paid staff that we work with, right? And on our facilities as well, these beautiful stores that we have to keep the lights on. We have to pay for that. So by the time an item actually gets hung on a rack in a store, it's cost us money. So we can't put it all out for 50 cents because we wouldn't be making any money either, right? So we do have to take that into account. And we try to keep those price points low so that they're good for people in the communities who need those advantages, as best as we can, but keeping in mind our business practice. And unfortunately, there are times when we can't afford to stay open, the rents are too high, or we get moved out. So you might see stores close here and there. That's just, it's business at the end of the day. But
Yeah.
we do our best to try to work with our local community and provide what they need.
That's something that we've experienced at the Tool Library as well. At the end of last year, we did have to raise the prices on our memberships for the first time in 4 years, because we were just facing, the rental costs, the maintenance costs, and some staffing costs as well. We're primarily run by volunteers, but we do have a few staff members that help us with some of our key projects. And even though we want to be able to offer this accessible, affordable service, we have to keep the lights on. And so that is a barrier for a lot of these industries that are working at a below retail price point. We have to survive as well. So thank you for sharing that. I think that about wraps up. There's a couple of just comments saying thank you. This was super helpful. And picking up, I can go and pick up a full outfit for less than $50 as a menswear connoisseur. Lots of great responses from our audience members today. And as I mentioned, if you missed this live stream, it will be available on our Instagram feed and uploaded to our YouTube channel as well. So thank you, Tawny, for joining us, and have a great rest of your day.
These platforms are so important for us to be able to connect with our communities, and I encourage people to connect to us through our social media and on thriftstore.ca. You can get a lot more information about the work that we're doing and how it's impacting local communities. I think that's very important.
Fantastic. And for any other Circular Fashion Festival events, you can find them on our website or saved to our Instagram stories or in our Instagram feed, hashtag Circular Fashion Festival.
Awesome.
Thanks. Have a great day.
You as well.